Hello everyone, welcome to the Den. Now, a slight curiosity here, you'll notice the stadium, let me take you around it. Here's the stadium, the Den, see up there, the Den, all empty seats. The only place they put in cardboard cutouts is in the away end. But there we go, didn't make any difference tonight, obviously. I had no noise from them for some reason. Daniel Farke, you can probably as well just make out, is wandering away back after having done his IMG interview for the World feed down here, and I had to ask the questions because there was no one else to ask the questions. So obviously I gave him a real grilling for the World feed, which I'm sure went down well. I'm not putting off talking about the football, honest. It has finished here 0-0. It was a mess of a game in the second half, especially, and quite similar to the game at Carrow Road, really. And I've used this analogy on Twitter that if you were to look at the football season as a round of golf, we're currently on the sort of 11th hole, where the 11th hole where it's boggy and there's divots everywhere, and oh, hello Gary, Gary's in good spirits. Shall I move? Would that help? Shall I move? I'm not filming you, I'm talking. But this is good. This is good. We'll let the Millwall manager do his interview, and hopefully the ball doesn't fall on him as well. I'm not editing any of this, obviously. There we go. I'll put myself in Gary Rowett's good books. He'll be delighted, of course, because it's a wonderful point for them, and they actually played very well today. I thought in terms of the breaking, Jed Wallace is one of the most dangerous attacking players in the Championship, really, if you look through his stats. And I thought he looked at today in terms of how well he helped progress what Millwall were doing, and they carried much more of a threat than they did at Carrow Road. Norwich probably did the same things, actually, which is why, what was I saying? My golf analogy, yeah, we're at the 11th hole, basically, and it's boggy and horrible, and you've got a headwind, and you don't know how. If you don't play golf, it's a wasted analogy. But ultimately, I suppose, in some ways, Norwich's performance tonight wasn't very different to how it was in early November. Now, I've obviously seen the reaction, I've seen the way people are reacting to the game, and I'm always quite conscious of situations like this, because you can end up being accused of just being in denial about what's going on the pitch, and because you're being so objective and everyone's kind of probably being a bit more subjective in terms of most of you guys who are watching this, then it's quite a difficult balance to strike. I didn't see too much different in today's performance to the one at Carrow Road, if I'm brutally honest, at a time when Norwich were playing well. I always feel that the ebb and flow of fixtures do make a significant difference to the ebb and flow of a season, and it's really awkward playing Middlesbrough at home off the back of the hiding they'd had at Rotherham, and then everything that happened around that game, and then tonight, Millwall haven't won here, and they've got one of the worst home records in the division, which to a lot of you will be like, well, Norwich have got to go there and win, haven't they? But that it does take two on the pitch, and I actually thought Norwich persevered. I thought, but they did struggle, and I do feel like at the moment, in the back of their minds, they do have it that they are struggling to score goals. Just a little bit, but just enough to maybe think, I'm going to take this shot from 25 yards when I've got Teemu Pukki and Mario Vrancic running ahead of me, which is what happened to Przemysław Płacheta in the first half. Or Max Aaron's cutting inside and hitting one from 20 yards, which, again, you're trying to work space in and around the final third and the penalty area when you're playing against a team that's basically playing a 3-5-2, but it's essentially 5-3, and then seeing what Kenneth Zohore and Jed Wallace can do if the ball gets up to them. So you can never ignore what the other team is doing on the football pitch, and that was just a horrible 90 minutes. And in the end, I think the final 15 minutes, the way it was going, they brought on Matt Smith. It was really awkward. You were sitting there thinking, all right, we would take a point here if you managed to scrape a late goal, fair play, but let's not concede one. And there were penalty shouts and all sorts going on in the box, and I couldn't really keep track of them as to how even-handed they were or whichever. Stephen Martin had a tough old game and was basically being shouted at by by all players by the end of it. So that was just how that unravelled. But a draw was definitely a fair result in the end, because I think probably Millwall had the better opportunities, yet Norwich had a greater control of the game for longer spells. Emi Buendia obviously suspended for today, as well as Friday night at Swansea. Norwich still only won one league game without Emi Buendia, which was Huddersfield on the opening day of the season when Emi was suspended, of course, for his sending off against Burnley. And although Emi hadn't really been at his best in these sort of games up before this, you could see that they were missing him in terms of their creativity and just ball progression at a quicker tempo. So that is still feels like it might well be an issue on Friday. I thought Apple had to kind of disappeared a bit in the second half, but was still probably as lively as anyone. I still feel like Onel Hernandez has got a bit of working up to get up to speed, so I could understand why it was Šemić who came in for the start. Not really seen a lot from Adam Eder in his 2 substitute appearances, and again Kieran Dowell came on, and it was difficult for him, as it probably would be in this kind of situation, to be honest. And fair play to Dimitris Giannoulis, who has played a full 90 minutes, and I think there were a couple of hairy moments in the last 15, but he was basically knackered, to be honest, so which he didn't need to be. And this is probably the one thing that I'm taking away from today or tonight, which is bugging me, which is the changes were too late. 65 minutes. I think with an hour gone, you could have made changes. Obviously, like any game, you can sit there and you can wait, and you can always sense that, okay, it could now happen, it could now happen, it could now happen. So that will always be the case, because it could happen, obviously. But I thought on 60 and certainly 65 minutes, I think there was a poor touch from Šemić, and you just thought they need some fresh legs. They need some fresh impetus. And I think Norwich made their first change on 70-something, 73, maybe something like that. And then Millwall made a triple change straight after. And all of the momentum was with Millwall because they'd made that triple change. So it was just a reaction to... So that's one thing. You've then got a double change of Kenny McLean and Onel Hernandez with 10 minutes to go. Now, 10 minutes is not very long. The first thing Kenny does is basically a poor touch from Dowell, I think it was, or got lost and slides straight in, like completely desperate tackle, completely fair yellow card. And I don't know if he makes that challenge if he comes on with 20 minutes to go and has a feeling of a little bit more time to do something. And then Todd Campbell comes off on 89 minutes for Adam Eder. Now, that could have been a decision just to make sure there was more height, because Millwall had more height. So it could have been a purely defensively tactical decision. And also, I think Adam is struggling to get up to speed. He's been out a long time. But if it was an attacking substitution, you can't make that in a game where there was a real tempo to the game in the second half. It was end-to-end. Although it wasn't great, there was a lot going into it. So I think it felt like a game where if you were a substitute, it would take a bit of time to get up to speed. And I just thought, unless it was for that height, which I haven't checked, it just was a nothing substitution really in terms of impacting the game. So I'd have loved to have seen the changes earlier, and I'd love to have seen something a bit more proactive, because ultimately Millwall got stronger as the game wore on, ultimately, and Norwich didn't really find their way. They do desperately need a goal. It felt like a game today where they needed just a goal to go off someone's backside, and I think it's like writer's block. If that spark had happened, I think they'd have been okay. As it is, they're going to go to Swansea still in that block. If they go and raise their level to the level needed, and they go and pick up a great result in Swansea, everything's fine. We don't need to be spinning around in this panic of, oh God, we're going to collapse and finish 10th for the next 24 years. It's fine. But clearly, the longer this goes on, Norwich can't just rely on picking up points, keeping clean sheets and not winning games. We all know that. They know that. We'll see where they are. But I'm going to wrap that up here because I've got quite a bit to do tonight. I don't even know when I'm going to publish this. Thanks as always for your comments and questions. Fling them in. I will read them all. I will be in Wales on Friday night. I look forward to seeing you all there. Follow all our coverage at theathletic.co.uk. Make sure you subscribe to this or that, whichever you want to do. And thank you as always for your time. Finished here goalless. That was it, really. See you later. Good night.